Good evening, everybody. Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is November 3rd, and we're going to talk about this big storm that's off the coast that's going to bring heavy rain and gusty winds to parts of western Washington, Oregon, and southwest BC. And then we're going to take a quick look at this next system that's going to arrive Sunday into Monday, bring some precipitation all the way down to parts of northern California as well. And then it looks like we're going to keep the active weather up at least through mid-November, so there's plenty of wild weather to look at. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now we're looking at the general ridge and trough position. And so here's British Columbia, here's Washington, Oregon, California, here's Alaska up here. The Gulf of Alaska troughing is starting to come back into business, and that's going to bring the storms into the area the next few days into early next week. So as we play this through, this is the European model, by the way. The first storm system moves up towards Haida Gwaii and up towards the BC coast with an atmospheric river hitting Washington, Oregon, and southwest BC, bringing lots of rain to the mountains and a good bit of rain to the lowlands as well. And as we go into Sunday and Monday, there's another storm starts forming right off the coast, and this will bring some more gusty winds to some of the coastal areas. This won't bring as much wind to some of the more interior locations, but it will heighten some of the wind speeds. And then that trough kind of hangs out, and that's going to cool the weather down on Monday and Tuesday, notably. And then it looks like we're going to start getting a ridge back in the middle of the week. Maybe give us a couple dry days before more troughing starts to try to enter the region. This wouldn't be a really wet scenario at all. The main troughing would go towards California and bring more active weather down to them. But that another little tiny ridge builds in right there, but doesn't last long. That's what we call a transient ridge because it just transits right through the area. And then look at this. This is kind of off in fantasy land, but here you go. The European model brings some more storm systems, plenty of storm systems out of the north later into mid-November. We'll keep an eye on that as we go. And now let's look at the GFS model. Good agreement in the short term as per usual. Storm system goes through tomorrow into Sunday morning. This next system comes in Monday, goes through the Pacific Northwest down into California on Tuesday and Wednesday. Ridge built in for a little bit. And then troughing starts entering the area again, mainly down to California, but more troughing starts coming up from over the north. So yeah, plenty of active weather to look at. But look at the European model had a lot of storms coming down around this time frame, but the GFS kind of builds this really huge ridge over the western U.S. So there's still a lot of disagreement that we have to work out before then. So yeah, this ridge would bring a lot of warmer and drier weather relative to November temperatures, but it would keep us out of the storm track. Now let's look at the mean sea level pressure. This is the pressure put to sea level terms. Here's about now. The big storm systems right off the Washington, Oregon coast and southwest BC coast. Down to around 982 millibars, so pretty strong storm. If this was down toward right next to the coast, we'd be dealing with some major wind impacts. But right now, we're just going to be having generally gusty winds, and it looks to strengthen even more until tomorrow morning, down to a 978, 977. So a pretty strong storm, and you can see that pressure gradient build right off the coast right there, and that's what's going to bring in the gusty winds. Where some high wind warnings are up for the southwest Washington and most of the Oregon coast, and some wind advisories up for the north shore of Washington's coast and parts of the northern interior, like from Bellingham, the Whidbey Island, and the San Juan Islands. And we'll take a closer look at that soon. That system dies off, and then you can see this next storm system. It's kind of farther south and weaker, but you can see the pressure gradient on the south side of the storm. That'll bring some more gusty winds to the Oregon coast. And then that kind of dies off and heads off, and then ridging starts building up over the area midweek. And here's the 3-hour precipitation totals. This kind of just gives us the general idea when some of the rain's going to arrive. So you can see the big fetch of moisture associated with the atmospheric river. It's going to start moving in around now onto the coast. And this is going to spread over the area through Saturday morning and kind of really blast the mountains and a lot of the lowlands with some moderate to heavy rain through Saturday morning. It kind of tapers off by Saturday afternoon, but some convergence zone activity over parts of Washington and some residual shower activity will remain possible through Monday morning. The atmospheric river and system kind of moves off to the north and to the east. And then you can see the next storm system moving in, maybe with another weak atmospheric river. Not as much precipitation associated with this because it's going to be more showery in nature. So it's going to be, this rain is going to be spotty. So some places are going to get plenty more than other places, even if it's not that great of a distance. And then that really kind of just hangs out for the day on late Sunday into Monday and brings maybe some higher elevation snows to parts of the Cascades. And then that kind of starts moving off by Tuesday morning. Some showers and convergence zone activity still remaining, though. Now let's look at total precipitation on the European model. This shows us how much precipitation may fall in the given period of time. So let's say by Saturday evening, when most of the rain from the strong system that moves through, around an inch for Seattle, possibly. You can see the rain shadow over Whidbey Island and parts of the San Juans. That places over there may not even get to a half an inch because the air dries as it moves over the Olympic Mountains, causing this rain shadow to form where the dry areas. But places like the Willamette Valley may get up towards an inch or over an inch. The mountains will likely get 2 to 4 inches of rain in certain spots. A lot of the foothills getting 1 to 2 inches of rain. Coastal areas getting heavier amounts than the interior as per usual, with 1 to 2 inches possible out there. This first system really mainly hits like southern Oregon all the way up through BC. California kind of gets untouched by this one. Maybe a few showers late Saturday and the Sunday morning. But you can see this next system moving in early on Monday. Bring some nicer totals to bring Seattle up to over 2 inches by Monday afternoon. You can see it starts to bring some more rain and possibly maybe some snow with this at higher elevations in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Generally very light rain once you go from south of like Sacramento. And that kind of moves off as well. Let's go to the earlier run that goes out farther. Now this is Tuesday evening. You can see that system as it kind of drops down over California, brings some showers to the interior valleys. And you can see some more systems off in the future starting to move in. And just look at this, some very impressive totals showing up in malls. Over 5 inches for Seattle, possibly by late next weekend. It's over almost a foot of rain for parts of the mountains and coastal ranges. So now let's take a closer look. This is Washington. This is Oregon. Here's Vancouver Island up here. Here's Vancouver, BC up here. This is showing 10 meter wind gusts. So this is about surface level wind gusts. So right now the stronger winds, some gusty winds are starting to approach the coastlines with some gusts up to 40 possible. Pretty light for the interior. And then as we go through, once we reach about midnight, some strong easterlies start coming through the mountain gaps as the storm system creates a pressure gradient from east to west over the area. Maybe it gusts up to 51 according to the HRRR model for Victoria. So yeah, some pretty gusty the southeast winds ripping through the straight Juan de Fuca. Some gusts maybe approaching 50 miles per hour on the coast. And you can see the wind starting to pick up in the interior. It's starting to gust towards 30 to 40 miles for parts of Whidbey Island, the San Juans, and up towards Bellingham. And then that you can see, this is where the high wind warning is for the Southwest Washington, Oregon coastline. You can see the gusts are approaching 55, maybe even 60 miles per hour on some of the open beaches. So yeah, pretty stormy. And the gusty winds really last through a good bit of Saturday morning and the Saturday afternoon. The HRRR even brings a gust up to 42 in Seattle at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday. That would probably cause some power outages as trees are rather weak right now because we haven't had really much wind in these locations this year. And it's already November and there's still a good bit of leaves on some of the trees. So that may cause some issues. Even some gusts maybe towards 50 miles per hour where a wind advisory is for Island County, Whidbey Island, Camino Island, Fidalgo Island, parts of Skagit and Whatcom counties. This is Saturday afternoon, and that kind of remains so through the evening before calming down. It's still going to be breezy for some of these locations through Sunday morning. And then you can see at the end of the model runs some gusty winds on the coast associated with this next system coming in. Maybe some gusts towards maybe 30 to 40 miles for parts of the interior with that. And then here's the NAM 3 kilometer NAM. And this is also 10-meter wind gusts. So let's play this through. This is about now. So gusty winds like the HRRR showed maybe some stronger gusts than what the HRRR said off the coast, maybe gusts 60 to 70 miles per hour over the open waters. Definitely do not want to be on a boat out there. And you can see tonight as the wind's starting to pick up again. Oh, again, 52 miles per hour at Victoria. So very, very strong winds possible for parts of the Stray One to Fuca. So you do not want to be out there. That's why gale warnings are up. And you can see why there's a high wind warning up for the Oregon coast and Southwest Washington coast. The NAM is showing some potential for gusts up to 60 right along the immediate coastlines. Yeah, look at this. Even maybe some mid 60s. That is definitely high wind criteria. And then you can see gusts 40 to 45 miles per hour for parts of the interior tonight. And so we go in the early tomorrow morning, gusty winds remaining over much of the area, gusting 30 to maybe 40 miles per hour in Seattle. We'll see if that happens. They're kind of more protected out there, so it's kind of hard to get winds. But yesterday, I believe it was, they got some gusty winds when the front moved through, and this is going to be a similar setup. And they got some over 12,000 people out of power in the Seattle metro area, so this could be a similar situation. And you see the gusty winds kind of lessen as we go into the Saturday evening into Sunday night. And as we scroll through Sunday, you can see it may a bit breezy, and then you can see that also that next system moving through, not as strong of winds as the HRRR, which this kind of looks more like what's actually going to happen because the HRRR can overdo these wind speeds. And this next system isn't going to be terribly strong, but some gale force winds are still going to be possible on the coastlines, and maybe some gusts over 30 over on Whidbey. And now let's look at the composite reflectivity. So basically, this is what the NAM model thinks the radar may look like. So let's go about where we are right now. This is about right now. So it's kind of ahead with the rain. The rain hasn't really moved this far north yet, but it's definitely picking up on this rain moving onto the coast right now. Big fetch of moisture. There's going to be some heavier cells possible in these as some convective elements move into parts of the coastline. So some heavier rain is going to be possible with these. Not much of a thunderstorm chance. You can't really rule it out completely, but not likely to happen. As we go through tonight into tomorrow morning, you can see the showers starting to remain after the main stratiform rain goes through. Some stronger showers will be possible. Some convergence zone activity possible in some areas as well. The showers really just last on and off through Sunday morning before you can see the next weaker system coming in late Sunday and the Monday with more showers. Maybe some thunderstorm potential with this as it moves ashore, but not a super great chance. So now that we're looking at the European Ensemble, this is all 50 different Ensemble members showing max wind gusts. So this is the Bellingham International Airport. So it's showing for about Saturday morning into the afternoon, showing gusts over 40 miles per hour. Pretty good agreement in that. Then some more breezy winds Monday into Tuesday evening, Tuesday morning as that weaker system moves, and nothing crazy with that. But then you can see our little break, and then we get more active weather, and it's pretty chaotic. There's not much good agreement beyond this 5 to 7 day range, which is pretty usual for models not to know what exactly is going to happen. But you can see some stronger wind gusts, but there's also some members showing no wind at all. So you can only take this with a grain of salt at this point. This is the same thing, but for the Whidbey Island Naval Air Station. And this is showing even gustier winds, maybe some gusts up to the mid 40s. The wind advisories for gusts up to 50 miles per hour, so you can't really rule out a 50 mile per hour gust. You can see some breezy to gusty winds also possible Monday into Tuesday morning as that weak system moves through, mainly only gusts in the 30s. And then you can see the mix of stronger wind gusts off into the future, but also some models saying no wind. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go. This is Seattle showing the potential for some gusts up the 35 miles per hour. 35 miles per hour is pretty decent for the Seattle area because the trees aren't used to as much wind. When it comes to Whidbey Island, though, 35 miles per hour is not going to do really much at all because the trees are more used to stronger winds. Whidbey Island's a windier place than Seattle is, so the trees can sustain more wind than the Seattle trees can. So 30 to 40 miles per hour is actually pretty decent, especially early in the season for Seattle. So now we're looking at total precipitation through the 15-day period, showing that we'll likely get over an inch to up to 2 inches by early Wednesday. So pretty rainy few days of this weekend and into early next week. This is for Portland International, showing the potential for another about 2 inches by Tuesday morning, maybe getting up towards almost 3 inches. So very wet system. And then you can see way off in the future the control run, which basically just shows how the atmospheric conditions are right now. So that kind of has the best idea. And it's showing over 6 inches by over a week out, 10 to 15 days out. So definitely some more active weather possible as we go into later next week. This is for Sacramento International Airport, showing the potential for some rain to move down as we go into Monday and Tuesday of this coming week. Maybe the control run had 0, but the actual mean shows about maybe a couple tenths to maybe 4/10 of an inch of rain by mid next week. So a little bit of rain for them down there. Now let's take a look at significant wave heights. So this is just basically the wave heights that we're going to have. You can see the big waves starting to build over the ocean as that storm system moves closer. And then you can see by Saturday afternoon, the waves are really starting to build on the Washington, Oregon coast. So if you want to wave watch Saturday afternoon, it's a pretty good time. And then that kind of lessens as we go into Sunday. And here's Monday. You can see the next system moving in. It's not as big of waves as it's not a stronger storm, but some heightened wave heights are going to be possible on the Oregon, Washington coast with that. So now this is looking at weather alerts for Oak Harbor, Washington. This is on Whidbey Island. So here's the gale warnings for the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the northern inland waters. Southeast winds 25 to 35 knots. This is from 8 p.m. this evening. This is Friday evening to 2 p.m. on Saturday. So all small craft should be in port or heading back to the port right now as gale force winds are forecasted. Here's the wind advisory for Whatcom County, Western Skagit County, and the Admiralty Inlet area. That's basically around Whidbey Island, the Island County area. This is for southeast winds 25 to 35 miles per hour with gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour expected. Gusty winds could blow around and unsecured objects. Tree limbs could be blown down, and a few power outages may result. So just have a heads up if you're out in those areas and use extra caution when driving, especially if operating a high profile vehicle, especially on those east to west oriented roads where the south winds can really get you. And then this is the high wind warning for parts of the southwest Washington coast and much of the central and northern Oregon coast. This is for high winds of 25 to 35 miles per hour with gusts up to 60 miles per hour expected in your beaches and headlands. This is from midnight tonight Friday to 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon. Damaging winds will blow down trees and power lines. Widespread power outages are expected. Travel will be difficult, especially for high-profile vehicles. So if you're going to be going anywhere near the beaches tomorrow, or you live on the coastline, be battering down the hatches as some high winds are likely, and you should be avoiding being outside in forested areas and around trees and branches. If possible, remain in lower levels of your home during the windstorm and avoid windows. Use caution if you must drive. And Also, some additional details. Strongest gusts will remain confined to areas along the immediate coast, such as beaches and headlands. Areas just inland, including most coastal communities, are likely to see maximum wind gusts closer to 50 miles per hour. So the strongest winds are going to be right on the coast, but some stronger winds may move a little bit inland. So this is basically the map of Western Washington where all the warnings are. Purples are gale warnings. The lighter pink/purples are small craft advisories. And then the light browns are wind advisories, and the goldish yellow color, almost like honey mustard color, is the high wind warnings. And then there's actually some flood watches up for I think it's the Chehalis River. Don't quote me on that. And this is for the heavy rain that's going to be coming with the atmospheric rivers the next couple of days. So this is a kind of a cool look at all the weather warnings that are up and showing that we got some active weather moving to the area. So this is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This is from November 11th to 17th. So this is mid-November. And you can see that we look to stay near normal to a little bit above normal as we go into mid-November. That's because a lot of the Pacific storms are going to be bringing the moderate temperatures into the area. And then you can see that that is also reflected on the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. This is showing generally normal to above normal precipitation for much of the West Coast as we keep those storm systems moving in. So as we go into mid-November, there's plenty of active weather for us to watch. Well, that's going to be it for this year. I hope everybody enjoyed this and found this informative. Be prepared for the active weather the next few days before we may get a short break and then some more storms possible late next week. I may do a video this Sunday that just give a short update, but if I do not, then you'll catch me with another video later next week when the active weather starts back up after these first couple storms. But if you wouldn't mind supporting the channel, just hit that like button down below and also hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you don't want to miss out on any new videos I may post. And other than that, have a great weekend. God bless, take care, and be safe during the storm.